Hi, this is Dinesh Kumar and you are watching Oracle video number 2. Here in our today we are going to discuss about these topics. What are Oracle database users? What are the components of Oracle? And how can I connect to Oracle database? And as a DBA, what are the responsibilities? As a client, what are the responsibilities? Let us see. First, consider about users. Generally, users are divided into two categories. Already in the last session we have discussed about this technical user and second one non-technical user. Technical user and second one non-technical user. Technical user is nothing but either developer or we can say DBA, Oracle SQL or PLSQL developer and database administrator. What is non-technical user? So the persons, end users, these are called as end users or back-end employees. Back-end employees. So these employees don't know what is happening beyond UI. These employees don't know what is happening beyond UI. These employees interacting with the database, in which way they are interacting. Let us see. Let us consider any non-technical user. Non-technical user uses any UI like a web page. Through this he will interact with Oracle database. So just he is interacting with UI. So then from the UI the request will be sent to backend database. Either data will be fetched from backend database or data is entered into the database, or within the database already old data is there, that data can be modified. Let us consider any technical user. See, in case of technical user, either developer or DBA, they will interact with the database. Either they are using web page, yes, they can use, or they can use client tools. They have to use any client tool. Through any client tool, they are interacting with Oracle database. Remember this. Here this is called as OraDB. So web page, okay, either non-technical user or technical user can directly interact with the database through web page. But what is meant by a client tool? So this is point about connecting to Oracle database. So later we will discuss about components of Oracle database. See, what are the client tools? See, client tools are again divided into two types. CUI tool as well as GUI tool. CUI tool and as well as GUI tools. Here CUI tool, command user interface tool, only it will support commands. Only you have to enter commands. See, what is the name of CUI tool? SQL Star Plus window. SQL Star Plus. This is called as a client tool and it will be installed into the database along with Oracle installation. Again I am repeating, what is the name of CUI tool? SQL Star Plus. SQL Star Plus will be installed into the system along with the Oracle database installation. Remember this. Then what is meant by GUI tools? GUI tools are SQL developer, we can say SQL developer, PLSQL developer and Toad. Again I am repeating, SQL developer, PLSQL developer and Toad. What are these tools? These are called as graphical user interface tools. Means, what is the advantage by using them? See, by using these tools, you don't need to submit all SQL commands. You don't need to submit SQL command for each and every one. So you can do it by using graphical objects. If you want to create a table, go to table object. On the table folder, right click. So select the option create new table. Then it opens table creation window. In that window, submit table name, column names and their respective data types. So you don't have to type like create table name. You don't have to type a command to create any object. You can do the things, or you can make a request to the database through graphical objects. Again, I am repeating, through graphical objects in these tools. By using graphical objects, you can make a request to the database. This is the advantage of graphical user interface tools. And here SQL Star Plus. Now, this is what about technical users are connecting to database either by using SQL Star Plus window or by using any one of the graphical user interface tools. What is Toad? This is the one of the most of the people are using in the real time. Most of the people are preferring Toad. This is called as Tools for Oracle Application Development. Tools for Oracle Application Development. Tools for Oracle Application Development. Yeah. So any user generally communicating with the database by using web page, but technical user, he is especially interacting with the database through client tools. This is SQL Star Plus window, CUI based tool and GUI based tools, these three tools. Now let me discuss about how can I connect to the database as DBA. How can I connect to the database as DBA? Just now we have finished Oracle DB users. How they are connecting? Yeah, connecting by using client tools. As a DBA, how do you connect to the database? See, generally, whenever you are installing Oracle database, at the time of installation, you need to submit username of administrator. So, database administrator username. At the time of installation, you need to submit administrator username. Remember this. Most of the people will maintain it is a system, but in the real time it is different. Don't fix it. In your personal system, you can make it as a system and then hit enter, then it is prompting for password. So what is the password? Then generally the people will maintain it as a manager. This is for your personal system only. I am not explaining about real time. See, in the real time, the administrator username and password will be different. Definitely they are different. Don't expect these things. And in your personal system, the people will maintain. So a DBA administrator username is system, password is manager. Okay, fine. Okay, once you have connected, how a client will be generated? How a client will be generated means generally first admin has to be connected to database and the admin has to create user accounts. Then the particular client will be authenticated. Again, in which way user can be authenticated? By creating user account for a particular user, he will be authenticated to interact with the database. How administrator can create user account? See, user accounts will be created like this. Once he has connected, it will display SQL greater than prompt. Means administrator successfully connected to database through SQL Star Plus window. Here, how user account will be created? See, create user. What is the username? You should specify username. I am specifying Dinesh. What is my password? Identified by welcome. Here welcome is my password. Dinesh is the username. Remember, create user Dinesh identified by welcome. So then it will display a message, user created. User created. Now SQL greater than. Here for this user, he has to grant some permissions. He has to allocate some permissions. What are they? Grant resource, comma, connect to so and so user. To whom you are assigning these permissions? Dinesh. Who is the admin here? System. So what he is doing? He is creating one user account for the client Dinesh. So in this way you can create user account, and in this way DBA can assign permissions to Dinesh. Then it will display a message, grant succeeded. Grant succeeded. Okay, now you can connect to the database with the user credentials Dinesh and welcome. Now you can connect to the database with the user credentials Dinesh and welcome. Yeah, say here, how can I connect to database? Okay, again, how can I connect to database as a client? Yes, so you can connect like this. Just do like this, either double click on SQL command window, SQL command window or command icon. Then it opens SQL Star Plus window. In the SQL Star Plus window, you need to submit username. So it will prompt you username. Here I am submitting Dinesh. Next, hit enter. Next, submit password. So what is my password? Welcome. Hit enter. Then it will display SQL greater than. So Dinesh is successfully connected to Oracle database through SQL Star Plus window. Remember this point. I will show you the hands-on part of this one. Don't worry, within a short time we will discuss about hands-on part. Now so in this way you can connect to database as a DBA as well as client. Now client can do something within the database. Now let me discuss about components. What are the components? Okay, I have connected to database. Then what is my target? What is my next step? As a technical developer, I am talking about technical developer. As a technical developer, you need to write queries according to client requirement. First point, you need to write queries according to client requirement and fetch required data. Next, according to client requirement or according to business document specifications, you have to develop Oracle objects. Maybe it is a procedure, function, trigger, package, or you have to create a table, you need to implement constraints, and you have to implement relations. All these things you have to done as a Oracle developer, or we can say as a PL SQL developer. What is the target of this course training? See, once you finish this training, then you are becoming as a PL SQL developer. You can post your resume to get a job on PL SQL developer. Remember this. Okay, so to become PL SQL developer, what you have to know? You have to know what are the responsibilities. What are the responsibilities? You need to write the queries, and you need to create the objects, and you need to implement relations. You have to fetch the data according to client requirement. All these things you are familiar once you finish this training. Remember. Now let me discuss about, okay, before going to PL SQL, what we have to learn? SQL part. So PL SQL is used to automate your business activities, or PL SQL is used to automate your database activities. Right? Now see, what are Oracle components? Now see, see, Oracle database is having two parts, or we can say parts in Oracle database. See, Oracle database is having two parts. So that is SQL part and PL SQL part. What is SQL? It is a structured query language. Structured query language. And PL SQL means it is a procedural language. Procedural language using SQL. Okay, what is a structured query language? What it is, why we need it? Listen carefully. I am the user. Let us say I am technical user. Okay, and here is a database. Okay, then I am ordering, I am making request to the database. I am making request to database. Yes, give me all mobiles information. Give me the transactions made in the last month. How should I make a request? I am speaking with the database. How should I speak? To communicate with opposite person, we need one language. If you want to communicate with one opposite person, we need one language, common language. Otherwise, you are unable to communicate. So, how should I communicate with the database? By using the language structured query language. By using the language structured query language. What is structured query language? It is a language to communicate with the database. What is the use? It is a language to communicate with database. See, so technical user is communicating with the database through SQL. Yes. Okay, he is making some order. The order should be executed from database. The results will be posted onto SQL again. Here, a technical user is submitting request. Request should be written in the form of query. Query is executed against database. From database, okay, from this query execution, you are getting some output. The output will be replied in SQL window. So, this is the execution process or communication process for any technical user. At this place, maybe he is using SQL or SQL developer, PL SQL developer or Toad, any client tool the technical user has to use. Right. Then how can I define SQL? It is a collection of predefined objects. Collection of predefined objects. What is meant by predefined object? See, all objects are predefined. If you want to create a table, it should be created as a two-dimensional table structure. It should be created as a two-dimensional table structure. You can't manipulate it. You can't create it as a three-dimensional or four-dimensional. Remember, so every object structure is predefined. If you create any one type of object, that should be created according to already defined structure. Already defined structure within Oracle. Now, what are the properties of SQL? Let me discuss about what are the properties. Again, I am repeating, the technical user has to communicate with database to get the results from database or to enter results into the database or to do changes in the database. How he is communicating with the database means he need a language. The language is nothing but structured query language. By using this language, what is the use of English or any regional language? We are writing some statements. Okay, so here SQL statements are called as queries. Query. Okay. Now, the queries are executed against database. From the database, the results will be displayed in SQL window. What are the properties of SQL? So, 4 properties are there. In SQL Star Plus window, each query should be terminated with semicolon. Each query should be terminated with semicolon. Remember this. So, if you didn't end any query with semicolon, the query cannot be executed. So, the cursor waits for your response. Means you should end the query by using semicolon. Remember. And one more point. SQL queries are not case sensitive. SQL queries are not case sensitive. You can type the query in uppercase or lowercase or mixed case. So see, suppose for example, I am writing like this. Select star from, let us say transaction details is a table. Okay, so this is similar to this. So you can write the query in any case, maybe in lower case, or I am writing the command in uppercase or remaining or in small case. So yes, you can write, no problem. So the meaning cannot be changed, even the case sensitivity is changed. Why? Because SQL queries are not case sensitive. Remember this. And at a time, how many number of queries I can execute in SQL window? Again I am repeating, at a time, how many number of queries I can execute in SQL Start Plus window? At a time you can execute only one query. So Oracle or SQL should not allow multiple queries to execute. At a time you can execute only one query. And the last point and the most important point is SQL is ANSI standard. SQL is ANSI standard. See, what is SQL? SQL is a collection of predefined objects. Means commands, functions, objects, all are predefined. So SQL is ANSI standard in the sense, what is the meaning of ANSI standard? See, SQL commands are valid or SQL queries are valid against any OLTP or OLAP RDBMSs. You may work with SQL Server, you may work with DB2, you may work with any other RDBMS, Ingress, Sybase, Oracle, SQL Server or MySQL. Okay, you can work with any RDBMS, but SQL queries or SQL commands and SQL concepts are same. That's why we can say SQL is universally accepted by any RDBMS. SQL is universally accepted by any RDBMS. That's why it is called as SQL is ANSI standard. Remember this point. Yeah. This is what about SQL part. Now we will discuss about this small part and hands-on, and then see, let me introduce what are Oracle commands or SQL commands. So first we are discussing about SQL part. Once we finish about all SQL parts, SQL concepts, we will move into PL SQL. Now see, so what are SQL commands? SQL commands. So this part will be discussed in the next video. Now let me discuss about the hands-on part of whatever we have discussed till now. Okay, that's it. Yeah, see here, just now whatever we have discussed theoretically, that we are seeing in practically. See, we have done with types of users. Yes, types of users. Okay, and after that we have discussed about components of database. Components of database. Components of database. That is, what are the components of database? SQL and PLSQL. PLSQL. Okay. Next one. How can I connect to database? As a DBA. So as a DBA, how can I connect to database? So connect to database. Next one, create user accounts. This is the first step I am going to perform. I am connecting to database as DBA. And next one is creating user account. So create and delete any user account. By creating user account, the user is authenticated to connect to database. Yes, and once user connected to database, how to work with the database. This part we are seeing here. See, minimize this. So here Oracle 10G Express Edition is installed. Don't worry about it. Whatever the database it is, whatever the version it is, way of connecting to database is the same. Don't worry about it. So once you connected to database, once the database was installed, see, either you can select run SQL command line, or you can go through all programs. Just navigate Oracle database 10G, click on the folder, and here run SQL command line. Anything is same. Either directly by clicking on the icon, double clicking on the icon, it opens connection window, or by clicking on run SQL command line window selection, then it will display SQL window. See here, this is called as SQL Start Plus window. This is known as SQL Start Plus window. So through this I am connecting to database. As a technical user, how can I connect to database? Let me connect to the database as DBA. Let me connect to the database as DBA. To connect to database, we can use like this: connect, hit enter, or you can also use shortcut form. Okay, so connect or CONN, enter. What is the username? System. What is the password? So actually the default password is manager. Most of the people will follow, but here a different password I am using. Don't worry about it. Finally you have successfully connected to database. And then see, this is a SQL Start Plus window. It's a completely CUI based window. You can't operate even your mouse here. You cannot operate. Why? Because it is purely command based interface. So it will not support graphical objects. Even it is not supporting mouse pointer. How to create a user account? If you want to confirm what is the user currently working username, if you want to confirm current working username, then use the command show user. It will display user is the system. Now how to create user account? Create user. Create user space, specify the username Dinesh and identified by welcome. Welcome is my password. Hit enter. Once the user account was created, then Dinesh will connect to database. Now again, let me repeat it. So here user account only created, but the DBA not provided any permissions to Dinesh. Let me assign the permissions. Grant resource, connect to Dinesh. Okay, here DBA is doing all these things. Remember this point, not client. Now user account was created successfully. User account was created successfully. Let me check. Yeah. So if you want to clear the screen, use the command cl space scr. It will clear up the screen. See, actually who is working with the system right now? By typing the command show user, it will display current username. Now from this moment, disconnect from old user and connect as a new user. Directly you can connect by using connect command. What is the username? Dinesh. What is the password? Welcome. So directly you can connect like this, or completely disconnect from database. You have closed. You have discussed, means you are successfully disconnected from database. And then again let me reopen it. So run command line SQL, and here let me change the size of the font. Just I am increasing the size of it. It was increased. Now let me type the connect command. It is prompting me for username Dinesh, the password welcome. Okay, Dinesh is the client. He cannot have any responsibilities like DBA. So okay, he is a client. He is unable to delete any other user accounts. See, let me create another user account. Create user Venkat, identified by welcome. You are unable to. Dinesh is unable to do this action. Why? Because Dinesh is a client. Okay, and then say, so if you want to do this, then you have to connect as a DBA. Now let me connect to the database as a DBA. See, connect with the system privilege, system username, and some password I have to show. Okay, Ratan. So this is the password that was connected. Now DBA connected to database. Previous user Dinesh was disconnected. Now some other new user DBA is connected to database. Now, so let me create another user account. Create user Venkat identified by welcome. User created, and let me give some permissions. Grant connect comma resource to Venkat. Okay, without disconnecting from database. If you use connect command again, automatically right now who is working with the system? Show user. System is working with the system. Right now system is connected to database. Now here you can connect to the database as Venkat without disconnecting from system. See, if you use connect command, the system is disconnected and it is ready to accept next user. So the username is Venkat and the password is welcome. So it is saying something wrong. Okay, connect Venkat. So maybe some typing mistake. Yes, it was connected. Who is the user working with the system right now? Who is the user working with the database right now? Show user. It will display Venkat. Okay, so that's all about how to create a user account. Let me connect as a system again. System, and the password I am typing here. Okay, connected. And how to delete user account? Okay, how can I get the user account names? See, you have a table all underscore users. All underscore users. In this table, the Oracle database will maintain all user accounts information. All user accounts information. You can select the usernames like this. Select username from all underscore users. Check here. So many. All these things are. So each and every one is known as a user account. Just now we have created Venkat and Dinesh, and already these are existed user accounts. Now let me delete the user account Venkat. Drop username Venkat. So Venkat user account is deleted by database administrator. Okay, then it is displaying the message user dropped. If you type the same query, yes, I want to get all usernames from the table all underscore users. All underscore users is a predefined table. It's already existed inside the database. See, in the previous case, before Dinesh, it is displaying Venkat, but in this case, it is not displaying any Venkat. Why? Because Venkat user account was deleted. Okay, that's all about how to create user accounts and how to delete user account, how to connect to database as DBA, and how to connect to database as client. Yeah, that's all about this video. So the next part, what is SQL? Under SQL we are having set of commands. What are the commands? And before creating a table, what are the rules we have to follow and the data types we can see in the next video. Thank you very much.